Mr Speaker, I was fascinated at a tete-a-tete that took place a couple of weeks ago between Mr Mallard and Heather Roy over the costs of running our democracy. In response to Mrs Roy's criticism of Labour's outrageous filibustering on Members' Day, where she estimated that nonsense was costing the taxpayer around $453,000 per hour, Mr Mallard replied that silly Heather Roy can't do the maths, and that her maths was predicated on the assumption that Parliament has sat longer than it would have otherwise, and that she needed to brief her intern on the difference between average and marginal costs. Well, I'm a chartered accountant, so I know a bit about marginal costs. And if you pick up a textbook, it'll say something about the costs attributable to the next unit of production. Here's the problem. On Members' Day, nothing is being produced.
That's right.
Absolutely nothing. So Heather Roy's maths was absolutely accurate. And $500,000 per hour is being wasted every single hour. The cost of the Te Tai Tokerau by-election that party so heavily criticised is being wasted by them every single hour of Members' Day. It's like that Yes Minister episode. Remember the empty hospital? Yeah. They had all the staff, the admin, the doctors, only they didn't have any patients. Well, this Parliament, every second Wednesday, has the members, it has the security guards, the clerks, the Hansard staff, only we're not producing a single thing. And so we've also heard about the total stunt that Phil Goff's members' bill on asset sales is. And Mr Bridges has already quoted that excellent article by John Armstrong about more chance of Namibia winning the World Cup. But he also said, even if Labour became government, this bill could not pass because it's been framed up as entrenching legislation, which requires 75% of the House's support. So they know it can't pass, even if they became government. It's a stunt, Mr Speaker. And it would be sad if it weren't for the fact that Members' Day is a very important part of our parliamentary process, where those outside the executive get to debate and raise the legislation and bills that are important to them and their constituents. And I would think that Labour's backbenchers would be pretty annoyed at the way in which that was going, except we haven't had a ballot this year. So I went back to November 2010, the last Members' Bill ballot we had, where there were 25 bills in the ballot. Do you know how many there were from Labour?
No.
One bill in the last Members' ballot that we had. And do you know whose bill that was? It was Darren Hughes' bill on transport. So who knows where that is? But here is Labour, so keen to represent their constituency that they cannot come up with a single bill except a stunt. They know it's a stunt, and that's how $500,000 of an hour are being wasted every single Members' Day. So what are Labour doing if they're not actively participating in our democracy? Well, they're alienating themselves from just about every section. We've certainly heard about the farmers, but I wouldn't have thought that they'd have gone and slapped a rat in the church who have been so loyal to them for so long.
You wouldn't think so.
And the public tell me they are sick and tired of the same old rhetoric. There is no plan and where are the jobs? Because the public know they're getting to it. They understand how hard things are, and they understand that this government does have a plan. It's a plan about a taxation system that works and rewards effort. It's an education and skills training plan. It's about free trade and innovation in science. It's about investing in infrastructure, and there are billions of dollars going into infrastructure, not the least of which in the South Island and in Canterbury. It's a lid on government spending, and this government makes no apologies for the fact that there are opportunities to continue to constrain spending and expect that a lot more comes out from a little more going in. And it's about reducing compliance costs to business. And you don't need to be a mathematician, Mr Speaker, to work out that if nominal GDP growth of 8% is achieved, that is going to produce a minimum of 200,000 jobs in this economy, Mr Speaker. And they say, where are they coming from? Well, it's pretty obvious. It's going to come from that growing economy, and it's not going to come from bureaucrats and the public sector. We might have to make it 172,000 to offset the very small reduction in public sector workers that have taken place. And, Mr Speaker, I'm extremely pleased to put those plans and policies up against Labour's any day of the week.
Darren Fenton.